Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the Big Black Tent. I am Rebecca, aka Nama Freedom.
I am Natalie Arsenault, aka Natalie Arsenault.
And ooh, my tongue has been so thick with what I wanted to talk about
Okay,
this.
great.
I guess the first being there's something I was watching. Russell Brand has a podcast.
Okay.
And I've been listening to him hit or miss since the pandemic. First as a comedian, and then he started talking about politics.
Hmm.
And lately, it's kind of interesting character. He's been promoting this new app, and I think it's like a Bible app, something like that.
This is
And
Russell Brand. Okay.
yeah, and he was like, "I'm a Christian. Like I've become a Christian, and I'm getting baptized Saturday." And he says, um, someone in his life said the material world is not going to satisfy you, and I found that out for myself that, that is so, I need something bigger and better
Okay.
and something more than myself, right? And there was something about that, as simple as it sounded, that stuck me
Okay.
and bothered me. And the part that bothered me was trading one master for another.
Which people often do.
Okay. Because I got this sense that, plus, especially since he talks about his addiction past, right? The blanket of, okay, now I'm a Christian, you know. Um, I was doing all these things, but now I'm a Christian. But I'm
Mhm.
like, that's such a blanketed term. And I've learned time that people, when they say Christian, that goes so many different.
Oh, 1,000 ways, child. 1,000. And some of them are unrecognizable. You just be like, because where that's at in the book that you say is your book. But okay, let's continue on.
Yes, it is so. And so I thought, okay, what I know, what I experience now for myself, I think I kind of had this feeling when I was a little girl, but it was controversial.
Okay.
The Jesus, because he said Jesus, the Jesus that he talks about, that a lot of people talk about, whether it's TD Jakes,
Whomever.
right?
Hmm.
Um, is not the Jesus that I know or
Okay.
have experienced. And I truly believe that I understand and know the pre-Nicene Council Jesus,
Okay.
and not brand, not the colonial mascot.
Okay. 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 I like the term colonial mascot. Oh, I see you. I see you. I see you. Okay. So, so wait. So what would you say are the differences? What do you see as what are you
What
seeing
the
as
difference is?
differences? Yeah.
Well, I believe that per our colonization, aka slave human trafficking history, not to sound too hotel, but it's it's starting to sound like a gang the older I get. Like I'm part of a gang, and it's us against them,
Hmm.
right? And we have this, whole, um, thing going on in the Middle East yet again.
Hmm.
And it's this, oh, because you say that name, then that means I'm on your side. And nobody's using discernment, intuition. It's just like a blanket check to, oh yeah, oh, you saved, okay, we good.
Right.
What? But he's killing people, whatever, shooting, molesting kids.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Right.
not just the obvious, but historically, right, slave wise, it's been just used as whether you agree with me or not, whether I can misuse you or not, whether you're against me or not.
Hmm.
So I guess that's to me, that is the dominant, obedient slave master
Okay.
um relationship when I hear of the colonial mascot. Because when you say Christian, you talking about deep red state issues,
Mhm.
right? We're in Texas, so deep red state, you're talking about liberalism, you're talking about
Mhm.
right everything from Unitarian Church to the
Right.
Mississippi Baptist.
Right.
So where does that like what are we doing? But we still go to our corners of politics and culture.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why it's a church on every corner, and they different denominations, and they different, or they might be the same denomination. You might have four Southern Baptist Church all on the same north, south, east, and west, giving coverage by all the different pastors of different churches.
Right,
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So, do you think Russell Brand's so you Russell? So the triggering part for you with Russell Brand, which I not, I mean, that's why I was like Russell Brand, Christian,
Am I
interesting.
saying that right? That's like the
Yeah,
London dude.
uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
The English dude who,
Okay.
the comedian, yep, uh-huh. And you think what you're perceiving is that he's the colonial mascot version.
Yes, I perceive that it's the colonial mascot version because it's just, well, maybe he was just throwing something out there, right? Everybody has their own personal relationship, but it just seemed like this was getting to be too much. So I went to this.
Right,
And I'm like, but that could also be waffles. That could
right.
also be Buddhism. That could also be,
It could be. It could be a lot of things.
it could be a lot of things because I have a lot of different practices based on what I need at the moment that has nothing to do with,
The religion.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So as we're getting into this, as things become more divisive, I feel,
Mm-hmm.
campuses protesting and this, like, because we've been here before, right? We're older, so Kent State Massacre, like, when's that going down? Is that next? Um, I just don't know. I just feel like, okay, so does that mean we're going further in our corners? And because he said something, he said there's a mass movement of a lot of millennials going towards Jesus. And this happened in
I
the
see the
70s.
different. See, I see it different. I think they didn't gave up on him. Like I think I do. I see it
Like, no,
different.
no, no, no.
I think that it's the younger generation, so the people who are, maybe just hit 30 and below, they have I feel like they have just like been like, yeah, no, you can keep that organized religion stuff. We gonna go do our own thing.
No, that could be the
Like
case.
they feel like, to me, like what I see, and granted my view is only that of which comes through social media and family members who fit that category and coworkers and things like that, but it feels very much so like they have decided that the traditional approach
Mm.
is not for them. They may proclaim a relationship like, oh yeah, God, Christ, whatever. Um, but it's very much so the cherry-picked version
Oh, okay. Okay.
of it. Um, and I mean, I think you see it in like even like the churches, like you don't see people, a lot of churches are like struggling for members, even the mega churches. Which is why a lot of mega churches are like changing their message and they're, just peace, love, and hope kind of thing.
The black ones too?
Yeah, I mean, you have criticism around, just coming around with, criticism towards from the traditionalist about the new messaging that's happening. And when I say new, in the past 15, 20 years, of these larger church bodies where they are moving more towards the, you know, take one scripture, paint a whole broad message from it, make sure people feel good when they leave, that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Okay. Because I know, okay, right, because you said 20 years ago, maybe that's just where my head lies. I remember, right, that was the criticism about Joel Osteen's
Right.
church,
Correct.
right?
It still is to this day. And still is to this day.
Okay. And you're saying that the black mega churches are also starting to adopt this?
Yes, a lot of black mega churches that, now don't get me wrong. The black mega churches, they have their vote moving issue, right? So they have the issue the one singular issue that they can all unite on that they declare as being wrong, despite the person who's playing the piano in the church. So they can all uniformly unite on that one issue, and will preach on that issue. But all of the other messages are designed to, you know, make you feel like you're okay. Like there's, that like, if you ask regardless, it's gonna happen, that they're, that you just God is this loving being and that's it. He just wants to hug you and smother you with kisses all the time.
Oh, this does bring up something that we talked about that is still ringing in my ear because I said, oh, I want to get her details on this to try to understand it. So I remember you saying, I'm saying that God is love is God. God is love and love is God. And you're saying, and I remember you saying God is also wrath.
Yes.
So could you expound on that?
I mean, I don't think he's a one-sided thing. I think it's very feel good for people to believe that this entity that created everything, if you believe that, right? If you believe that this is the creator of all things, that somehow, and you believe in this book that is called the Holy Bible, that somehow the God of the Old Testament, who had multiple, you see, you don't really see in the New Testament, like you don't really see um God, you see God moving through Christ, right? Like there is this figure on the planet that he moved through along with like disciples and others, right? The God of the Old Testament, he moved by himself. He was like, he was like, look, Moses, you go do that. And right, look, no, I'm gonna need you. Okay. So but in that you saw a God you saw a God of love, right? A God of compassion. You saw a God that sat with Abraham and actually had a discussion, a rational discussion. If we again, if this only pertains, people don't send no letters and whatever. This, if you don't believe this, don't believe it. Don't you believe it? I'm just telling you for the people who believe it. Okay. You saw a God that sat with Abraham and had a whole discussion on how many people would be the threshold to save a region, right? Like, Abraham was like, wait, God, don't destroy those cities. What about the people who are righteous? Don't do it. Let's have this conversation. What do I need to do? And they went back and forth. He was like, okay, what about this number? And God was like, well, I don't really see none. I don't, okay. And then Abraham was like, okay, wait, hold on, wait. What about this number? And like, you see a God that is like a rational being who you can sit and talk to and be like, okay, what about this? What about that? What about this angle? How about this perspective? What we doing, right? And then you also see the God that was like, kill everybody, kill everything, women, children, men, animals, kill it all, right? So, I mean, I think, you know, and again, and then you have the God who created things, right? You have the God of the garden who clearly, loved and nurtured. He would come down every day and commune with you. Um, And then you got the God that told David, "Yeah, you did this thing. So I'm gonna take your son." You don't get to have both ways, right? So
You're
I'm
not
like,
fun anymore. It's not fun anymore. Nobody.
right, right. The party god is
No,
gone. Party
it's
up.
God.
Uh, so I mean, he's this thing like you. I firmly, from everything I've seen in the Bible, everything that I experience and feel and have, and emotion on the emotional scales of anger and wanting to do away with humanity and just being like, God darn it, why these people here? They make me mad to feeling very moved and compassionate and just having mercy and grace, and like that's all in that same being. I don't think it's an either or. It's not like, oh, he's a god of wrath and he's coming to burn you to hell and whatever, or it's just about love and rainbows and peace. There is no, it's a both and.
Mm. Feel like that guy on YouTube. Okay. Okay. Well, this is deep because let me just jump in on in.
Okay, come on in, come on in.
Okay, so this veers into so many different layers, right? Because historically, colonially, we've had. So I'm gonna start there because that's my history, right?
No, that's not, so we had a history before then. The
I'm
history,
saying mine.
okay, I'm like, because we pick up
I'm
on
saying mine. Like I
okay,
know that
your
the
history.
African
Okay,
deities, but
okay,
that's not how I was raised.
okay, correct.
Okay.
Which begs the question then though. This is what always is intriguing to me, is that you inherited a religion, right? If you
Yes.
if the people who are proclaiming on the shores of the United States of America are proclaiming Christianity, if the captors that they had and the founders of this country had been Islamic, you would be praying to Allah right now.
Right. Now, this is the interesting to me about Black folks,
Right?
right? This is the interesting about us because being raised in predominantly white churches, I realized quickly that even though we were both saying Jesus, and this is like 1980s Church of God, meaning we were kind of one cough away from segregation in the church. So, and I'm pretty sure they were still carrying playing cards. I swear to God, it's there. So I say that because even though we were sitting in that same pew, there's something very African about me that was interpreting a different spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that that comes from within. I do think that even though we were enslaved and we saw that we were enslaved, and I don't have to go back that far for those who are watching, integration, civil rights movement, whatever, whoever's trying to stone us, um, as we were
Yep.
marching or not marching.
Right.
But so we understood that the God that was they were serving was not our God. We just were told that this was Jesus,
Right.
right?
Right.
But there was something spiritually different about the two set groups.
Right.
Okay. So I get that. And the way that we worship historically is very different,
Very different. That is true.
completely different. So
Yeah.
I realized that we hear something different,
Right.
we see something different, and we move
Right.
really differently with the same Bible.
Right.
Um, so wait, what was your question?
I wasn't. You were jumping in on the vastness of God.
Oh,
The
oh, okay. So I
or,
guess I
but
said to say, you said what?
both and, both
Oh,
and.
both ends. Oh, that's right. So I really do believe that we interpret this really differently. We interpret it culturally, interpret it sociologically. So it's a lot of different things. And ultimately, while you were talking, I thought, um, it's like God is a projection of us, like you said, with all of the same emotions, beings, habits. So there's several thousand camps that talk about this from, well, that's not original. There's 12 historical texts, there's the Emerald Tablets, there's right, all of this is kind of pulling from the same thought, the same place, the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we all have some type of commonality. Um, I don't know. It's like the older I'm getting, I understand what is written in the Old Testament, but I also understand that that was interpreted by men.
Oh yeah.
And I understand, from my opinion, that there's still a creator above. When I say God, I mean the creator above all the created.
Yep.
And I, for some reason, I see that as some system that just is,
Hmm.
right? And that we have we have some of these same inherent creations that come with these automatic laws, whether we agree to them or not. Like on this planet, it's called gravity.
Correct.
Jump in the sea if you want to. There's a
Right.
law there.
You
Hope you can
will not
swim, but
be able to
maybe
breathe
not.
underwater. You will not be able to
Right,
breathe underwater, okay? Now, unless a miracle happened, I will not, well, you, there might be,
right.
but short of that, if regular natural laws at play, you ain't gonna be able to make it. You're not gonna make
And
it.
I think a lot of times that's what we're fighting with. I think we're fighting with regular natural laws, agreements, and choices that we're making that we don't realize our power and what we're creating. And we're like, oh, God's being so bad. But it's like, but I watched you make that choice.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I mean, I think that boils down to what you were talking about previously, which is accountabilities, right? And rather than own your own choice, and the consequences, good or bad, of that choice, um, you know, people tend to want, especially the bad choice, when stuff be bad, people be like, "Oh, God is testing you," and all the things, and
Oh, the devil is busy today.
devil busy or God is testing you, one or the other. And I'm like, child, that is, I can trace this right on back, the root cause analysis to the decision. You made this decision right here. And when you made that decision, these are the dominoes that it put into effect to fall over. Okay. Um, so yeah, yeah, but accountability.
Accountability. To cross into the intersectionality of politics and religion, this is where I feel like a lot of us Black folks are very conservative
Hmm.
in nature. Like I believe, but when it comes to how racism has destroyed or denied what that accountability is, I feel like that's where I feel like most of us would be Republican and were Republican, right? um,
Hmm.
Before the big switch, but we were so dominated that we felt like so oppressed that we needed the National Guard to come in. Honestly, in my Black brain, I'm like, who's
Yeah.
gonna call National Guard if they try
Right.
to blow up Black Wall Street again?
Right, right, right. And that's really what the switch, again, and you see it play out in politics even today, right? Like you see that the presidents absorb a lot of things, good, bad, and in the middle, right? Like people are like, oh, President so and so, then you like the president really didn't do much of anything.
Yeah.
Um, and so, when you think about like when that major transition happened, you had a Democratic president in office who sent the National Guard to save people from being harassed, from being bombed, from having dogs sicked on them, who were there to offer a hand of protection. If it had been a Republican president, it would have been different, right? The story we would have a different allegiance in politics, which would still probably be the wrong allegiance. But so I think that plays a part in all of this too. Like the figurehead that you see and you attribute things happening because of rather than in spite of. Um, or
Happening because of instead of in spite of.
right.
So, okay, could you flesh that out? What do you
Or
mean
in
in
spite
spite
of,
of?
not because of. In spite of and not because of. So, again, the president didn't make these determinations on their own. We have a body called the Congress.
Right. Okay, so like for instance, so when I hear Karen Hunter say, because they're like, going between people, she's like, you just say thank you to Joe Biden because whether you like him or not, he's wiping out student debts. And that's why we should at least vote for Biden or the stimulus checks that we got under Trump was because of Democrats were holding it out in Congress. So what do you think of terms like that? Is it just in spite of, right?
So, so first of all, I'm gonna need people to stop being bought. Like, I'm gonna need you to stop being bought in general. Like, just um,
Was that go with our whoring?
that goes with the whoring. That goes with the whoring. The whoring. I'm like, I'm gonna need you to stop being bought, and for so little, for so little. So that's the first thing. People be ready to vote. Now, don't get me wrong. I have said this before, and I probably on the record somewhere saying it before. If somebody would just get rid of the IRS forever and ever for regular people, I will give my undying allegiance to whoever that being is. Like, I will put on a shirt, a hat, I will run campaign ads, I'll do the whole nine. I'll be like, hey, look, y'all, we ain't got no whatever. Um, but I feel like that's bigger than just your student loan debt, because you get rid of the student loan debt and then you still got all the other stuff. Like, you still making $12 an hour though. So yeah, you don't have that little $400 bill every month
I mean, I
coming.
wasn't paying it no way. I'm just gonna say
That's
that
what
before I
I'm
get me
like, but you're
canceled. But
not paying it no way. So I'm
I
like,
couldn't afford to pay it no way. So, but thank you.
you just did me. Um, I'm like, is that the meaningful stuff? Okay.
That's deep. Though I mean, that hit somewhere low within me because you're right. How are we still being bought for so little? Our policies still aren't getting passed. It's just like every 4 years. No, Juneteenth holiday.
Go,
Like
you
I
get
was taking off anyway.
a Juneteenth holiday that companies don't necessarily even recognize. It's just federal holidays.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, not it's not like Christmas or something. It's like it's a holiday that the federal, I mean, like the federal stuff is closed, but if you work in the private sector, it's a mixed bag. Somebody might take that thing. Actually, I don't know any company. I guess you could use maybe like a floating holiday. If your company gives you floating holidays, you could probably use your floating holiday, but like a calendared of the standard 10 to 11 holidays that most companies give around New Year's, Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July, all of that. Like that, it's not in that.
Also some bank holiday. And I was thinking like, because when I did work in corporate America, because I remember MLK Day, we didn't take off for MLK Day.
Right,
And I remember how, because I think I was one of 5 Black people in that 300 something company.
right.
I remember how taboo it was, right, for you to consider such a thing.
Yeah. 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 I mean, so that's my first thing. My first thing is, can we just stop being bought by things? It's my same thing with like this whole statue discussion about how we need to tear down statues and all this other stuff. If we could just stop erecting statues of men to begin with, I feel like we wouldn't have this problem. Like, it's great. Put them all in a history book. Fantastic. Put them all in a museum. Fantastic. Why do we need statues of men, past and present? Like, I don't understand what I just don't understand what the draw is. I'm like I just don't. And then of course when that hero figure that you had 50, 60 years it come out, that they wasn't quite the hero figure that they had a little stain on their character trait or whatever the case may be. Then you out here trying to defend something and trying to rationalize why this one is different than just why we got them at all. Like, just
Yeah.
stop.
I think that goes back to religion, which is interesting because people having a propensity to needing to worship something or be worshipped or
Right.
dominate. Like I need to be over you. Somebody needs to be over you, look up to. So whether it's a statue, whether it's the president, whether it's the right, we constantly need something up here instead of being accountable for our own. Does it come back to accountability again?
Yeah. It
Because I
all
can blame somebody up there.
it all comes back to accountability.
I can blame somebody up there.
can blame
I can blame
somebody
them up
else. You can lay it at the feet of someone else. Again, and this goes back to my other thing, just about like, we are constantly hollering about what's not right in politics and government and all these things. And I'm just like, you realize you are the like you're the government. You're it. That's it. That's it. So the fact that Congress is still holding true to like very low double digit approval ratings, 11, 12, 15% approval ratings. I mean, if you really hated that much, everybody just scrap everybody. Pick anybody other than anybody who was sitting in there right now. Like, I'm just like, it can't be no worse. They're all at 11%. But then when you tell people to do that, and you're like, hey, why don't we just start with a new batch? I don't really think the outcome is going to be different because people, but whatever. Let's just start with a new batch.
there's no hope.
Not really. But let's start with a new batch and see what happens. Then people start justifying why they person is better than the other person. Well, no, I know that whatever, but they did this one piece of legislation. It was really good, and it did what. Okay, but collectively, they have about an 11% approval rating. Voter turnout is low as all get out. Um, so the electorate is just tired and apathetic. Like they just like, I'm tired, I'm apathetic, I don't care, just leave me alone. Uh, so and it's so the again, and the other thing, so even with the student loan forgiveness piece of the puzzle, which again takes a collective of it takes all the people. Like you gotta whip the votes, you gotta get the stuff, you gotta do the things. Um, Now, that being said, I mean, like, there are some administrative things that can be done in the executive branch, right? So anything that falls under the executive branch, there are some things that, obviously as a president and you own the executive branch, that you can make some decisions around how things happen, what things get priority placed on them, right? Because for example, marijuana is still technically an criminally offensible drug, federally speaking. Um, but if your president tells the Department of Justice that we're not going after this, and works with police agencies around the country to say, hey, let's just not do this, and where you find happiness at, you find joy in those things, great, right? But for everybody else, they're gonna be like, no, it's still a criminal offense. So we're gonna write. So there are some things that you can try to work out on the executive side, administratively, great. But ultimately, to codify something, it requires the congressional branch of our United States of America. And I think it's very difficult. We talked about this the last time. I think I'm just like, again, and I saw something on India just yesterday or something about something that was going on with their government. Um, and they got 1 billion people too, practically. So like China, India, like all these very large populous countries, with America being right up there, with the number of people, it's hard to get 360 billion people to agree to something. You can't even get your 5 friends to agree what hotel you're gonna stay at when you go on a trip, child. So like, I don't know how we think that we gonna somehow corral 360 billion people to believe the same needs. Which is why I'm a proponent, and I know people gonna throw a shoe at the screen and whatever else, but this is why I think government should be on the most local level. Like the federal government, whatever, you can't tell me that what work in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Utah is going to work here in Texas. Like, we different people. And even within Texas, what happens in Austin and Schulenburg is very different than what happens in Houston and Beaumont and wherever. Like, so as local as you can get. And I know it sounds, crazy, but think about it. Like, Houston is like 4 or 5 billion people, 4 or 5 million people. Um, 8 if you count all the little people all around. Because we like to swath in the
All
oh,
on 45. All on 45.
right, all the 45, 290, everybody. But that's a lot of, even that is a lot of people to manage around and get them all to agree that, okay, this is, and you see it when there are state issues on the ballot constitutionally. Like very, very, it's not very, it's kind of a 50-50 toss up when you're talking about like constitutional amendments and stuff like that in the state of Texas, where you see just rampant success of an amendment from the electorate, where there's like overwhelming support. 90% of the population is like, we should do that, right? They tend to run a little closer, 40 to 60 or whatever, right? So that's not a mandate there. That means 40% of the population hates what you're about to do. Thinks it's a very bad idea. So yeah, so
That's true. No, that's true. I mean, that makes perfect sense. And I also realize that because civics is not taught, I mean, I still have to refresh myself on rules. But until I, embarrassing enough to say, until Obama was running and I did the little district thing or whatever to the state, I didn't know the power that we had, the local power that we had. I didn't know that the turnout was that low. I didn't know that as long as I got, the majority of my friends to vote on a policy that we could change things. Now they could intimidate us to kill us. I mean, happens, but we have the power to change things.
do.
So I didn't know that we have as much power we do on the local level that affects the state and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. But I think that's why it's for the youth. It's exhausting. I
It is
think when it comes to accountability, this is exhausting.
exhausting, which is why most people just, abdicate to someone else.
And I think maybe that has a lot to do with the way that we religion, the way we worship, the way we politic, right? Um, if my and maybe this could be by design, it could be by laziness, I don't know. But I just know for myself, as a mother, full-time worker, I'm like, can we pass a policy that little black girls get free hair care? Because this is a whole event. When I get off of here, I have 2 hours I gotta do on this head. And it's a Tuesday,
That's
right?
hilarious. That's hilarious. I'm sure.
It
I'm
is a
sure you could rally
thing
some.
with black girl hair.
I know. Hey, you see, I'm braided down, so I mean, I get it.
I mean, this policy, I was like, these policies matter to me. But I say that because as crazy as it sounds, if majority of black women said that that was an issue, we could get it done.
Could probably get it done. You probably could get it done. You
We
probably.
could get it done. But who's gonna want to talk to people to rally people to get people together?
That is the problem. That's what I mean. It's the same thing with consumerism, right? Like everybody's always upset about whatever is happening somewhere in some corporate whatever. And I'm like, it's real simple. Like capitalism, and this is why I completely disagree with anybody who is like, but there are other paths, and capitalism is horrible. The essence of capitalism is to reward people who companies, people, whomever, who create a product really well, that they get to sell it and they get to make money from it. And that in turn is the thing that burns the fire. They're like, oh my God, I got this idea. I can make money from it. I can feed my family. I can do all the stuff. I could whatever, right? Now, granted, our capitalism is a little jacked up because we ain't got no free markets and we got the government picking winners and losers and whatever. But in the purest sense of capitalism, right? Which means, in the purest sense of capitalism, you can bring down a company. You, a consumer can take down a company
Okay,
with the
yeah.
almighty dollar. Period. There's a reason why now you see organic food sitting on the shelves of Kroger's and Randall's and the Safeways and the Piggly Wigglies and whatever, because Whole Foods started a concept way back when and was like, we're going to bring this and we're going to create all things. Now Whole Foods is sold out and Jeff Bezos is all over the map, but whatever. But they started this concept because grocery stores weren't doing it, right? You went to grocery store, they had GMO stuff on the shelf, you had no choices, you had to eat these pesticides, it was whatever, right? Die, we don't care. Okay, so fast forward, fast forward to somebody who had this idea and they're like, oh my gosh, there are people who probably also don't want to eat this thing. I don't want to eat it. They probably don't want to eat it. I'm going to create a space for them to come. I'm going to provide a product that they can buy. And when that product showed itself to be profitable, then everybody was like, oh, Kroger, like, what? We need our own organic line. Simply Truth. Can we get a Simply Truth? Can we get all these people, right? Because it was profitable. And in that same way, the reverse happens too, right? Like if there is some company that's doing something absolutely deranged, you can close that company down, not temporarily, forever.
That's true.
Period.
Okay. Okay. So wait a minute. So this is interesting because it's crazy enough. This goes back to worship and religion and vote. So what is it about us that we really agree on things, especially when I'm talking about Black women, right? I'm gonna talk, well, all people, but let me hone in on what we are. We can agree, right? There are some things that we just do. Head wraps, right? It's a necessity, right? Satin caps, whatever. So we vote and then we agree based on our need. Earrings, certain fashion, music, right? We're all voting. We all like this.
Yeah.
So how is it that we can? What is that? What is that called when we vote with like and we trend, right? Based on our like. So we do like when we do move the country
Mhm.
with our trends, our likes.
Oh yeah,
How does that not?
to $1 trillion levels of the GDP.
But how does that not translate to our politics in our communities? Because we're
Because
organized with our
we just
spending, but
consume. We just consume. We
consume.
don't make any real demand. I mean, you got people out here telling you as a Black woman you need a BBL. Girl, you was born with a BBL. Sit down. So like,
What's a
what?
BBL?
The Brazilian butt lifts, the big booties, the injectables, all this craziness, right? So we have, and I date the people here in America. I date this back to, just the insecurities of the children of Israel. So just any which way the wind blows is kind of the way that we go. um and we will we will do we will follow. So we will create, don't get me wrong, we certainly create trends. We don't keep them and own them culturally. This is where the big black tent comes in, because we just let anybody come into the tent and let them have it. We just be, oh yeah, sure, you wanna rap? Okay, great. You don't have to rap about the struggle. You can twerk on stage all day long, half naked, and that's great with barely understandable lyrics about absolutely nothing about how many dudes you hit and how you got chlamydia, and it was great, and then we good. Like that we just let people come in and change the sound, change the whatever. We let people emulate us in the most negative way known to mankind. And as the culture, we accept it and let it happen. And so you have what you have. We have
Okay, so
no
what's the
gate.
difference?
We have no gatekeepers.
Okay, so what about, because we're not monolithic, is that right? We're not a monolithic people,
Right.
right? Because the argument right back in the day when Tyler Perry started, which was, they were controversial, calling him step and fetch it, like he was doing the same type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just like white America can have Dumb and Dumber
Mm-hmm.
and Schindler's List and The Last Mohicans, right? So you can have a lot of different things. What's different about us? Why can't we have a lot of different things?
We can. We just don't. We can. We just don't. We
But we do. We have the conscious rappers and the Kendrick Lamars and the Drakes and the.
Drake is not a conscious rapper. I mean, don't get me wrong,
I
I am
said the Kendrick Lamars and
he's
then the Drakes.
but I'm just saying, he's not conscious. He's very entertaining. But yeah, but what is consumed, right? So if you go out on the street right now, and this hip hop battle is going on, and Kendrick drops some, and Drake drops some, and Kendrick and Drake and all this mess, right? If you ask the vast majority of people to, off the top of their dome, recite the lyrics of Kendrick, they probably can't. I mean, they'll probably sing the hook and be like, "Be humble, sit down," right? Um, but if you ask them to like recite the lyric, now go ask the entire world to be like, "Hey, off top your dome piece, rhyme me 8 bars from something from Drake." People popping off with whatever. So it's it's not it's not commercial, right? You don't hear Kendrick stuff getting pushed commercially. He not in the club. He not a club banger. So conscious rap ain't getting pushed in the club. No, not just Kendrick, but all the other conscious rappers out there, right? Like it's just not regularly consumable by the vast majority of us and others.
Mm, of us and others.
Right.
So are you saying we're doing this? We're doing this out of the sheer entertainment of variety, or we're being bought again?
We're doing this out of entertainment. Yeah. Our palette, our palette, and again, I blame this on the children of Israel. Our palette, our palette is one for entertainment and pleasure.
Well, yeah.
Entertainment and pleasure. Um, we, you know, like ostentatious big personalities. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big personality, so I'm not saying that that's a horrible thing or whatever, but um we tend to lean very hard into one thing, even though we have even though our beliefs, and we may have conversations in our circles and whatever that would, to your point, exemplify the fact that we are not monolith. What we spend our dollars on
Okay.
suggests that we are.
Okay. Okay. I see. Okay. So yes,
Look how long it took for natural hair to become a thing.
the struggle was real down.
That's what, I mean, like seriously, look how long it took for natural hair to become a thing. And don't get me wrong, I understand everybody has their reasons because 15 years ago I had a relaxer too. So I'm not knocking anybody who still has a relaxer. But what I'm saying is, if you looked at Black women, specifically Black women, you would see monolithically, because 90% of us were rocking relaxers.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. And well, but wait, okay. So this is the
even
thing.
though
Okay.
even though we came from just one generation. Your mama's
Away
mom
from,
had an
yeah.
afro and whatever, right? One generation ago, and now we had, chemically treated hair, also to fit in, but whatever.
Oh, you mean now?
No, we were like when
Oh, from
we were
them,
growing
and
up,
then
yeah,
yeah,
from them to us, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. And you know what? I think there's several things maybe that come to this, because I feel like when we, like hair laws, right? Texas passed a crown law,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can wear locks to work, whatever. You can wear your hair like it grows if you want to.
Right.
When I went for, I remember the products that you see today, Carol's Daughter and all that other line you see at Walmart or Target, didn't exist.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So people were making, like, I feel like when we do something, like when we were little girls, the only Black makeup was Fashion Fair at the mall. They had
Right.
commercials.
That is correct.
So I feel like everything that we do takes such effort because it's not mainstreamed. And I don't know, I was in an area where Black businesses were popping off like that. So um, when you do try to veer from what mainstream expects, like I remember when a Black woman in the 80s on the newscast, she had braids, and that was a really big deal,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where she could have lost her job.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like a lot of what informs our behaviors has been political, it's been survival. When a white girl can just show up to work with her little wet, messy
Wet hair.
ponytail,
Yeah, that is correct. That is
right?
correct.
And we have to go through, I offend thee, right?
Yeah, yeah,
With
yeah.
our hair.
Yeah. That's what I said.
So,
Lots of reasons why we did it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even internally, we didn't accept it.
Well, you're right about that.
Right. So
Internally, we didn't
forget,
accept
with,
it.
forget with corporate world and whatever else,
Okay.
the acceptance of others is like internally, we didn't accept it. Internally, we were perfectly happy. So much so that we weren't even trying to create, we weren't even demanding better products. So now so they know okay, these people going straighten their hair because they want to fit in, and we've made these laws and we make it difficult, and they trying to climb the corporate ladder, so they're gonna do what we say that they're gonna do. Great. And we all get them relaxers. Um at that point in time though, you could have demanded, we could have demanded better relaxers that were not so harsh, which came later by the time when everybody was going natural at that point, right? Now they got relaxers that's like you leave them on your
Oh,
hair,
we got natural relaxers. We got natural. Yeah.
right? You leave them on your hair 5 hours, you fine, child. Your hair ain't falling out. It's gonna be just great. Right?
Yeah.
But that's because we started to pull away from that industry. So even people who don't necessarily rock relaxers, but now they've chosen wigs or sew-ins or whatever, right? But they still are braided down. They rock their natural hair underneath this stuff, whatever the case may be. Right now, the relaxer industry is like, this is capitalism. The relaxer industry is like, oh my goodness, what can we do? We need to do something different because we're not going to be in business much longer. We need to do something. We need to make something, right? So that's what I'm saying about this notion of capitalism, right? Like you can control a lot of things with money in a capitalistic society. The problem is that we opt not to.
We opt not to. Why are we opting not to? If we have all the power, like literally, if we were like, for one, nobody go to Popeye's chicken.
You just gonna not go to Popeye's chicken on Tuesday. So Popeyes know you coming back on Thursday. So okay. Okay, great. Fantastic. We'll see y'all on Thursday. I mean, I might be here on Friday, but okay.
But that is no. Okay, so what is I'm so fascinated by us because right when it comes to the way we church, right? The vast majority of us want to be entertained.
Yes,
Nobody cares whether or not it's the truth because
that is
sometimes
correct.
most time it's not.
That is correct.
Um it's just, and I don't know, the only thing I can think of, at least if I'm going for self, is it's so easy to escape, right? If I'm
Mhm.
doing something other than I'm supposed to do, it's based on the addiction of escape.
Yes.
And how uncomfortable is it for any of us to sit with our own issues, especially if our foundation is rocky?
Yeah. Mhm.
So our community is not, and I'll speak for myself, our community is not, does not have a strong foundation of psychological, sociological support, right? There's no Black version of the Motherhood Center. There's no Black version of the Houston Area Women's Center, right? When we go to those agencies for assistance, it looks like Section 8, it looks like the WIC office, it looks like something demeaning, something insulting, something that does not treat your whole person. And it's usually staffed with people who don't understand your whole person, especially culturally. So I think that there's a way out of that because we have pockets of our community, right, who have risen up to assist as needed, right? Whether it be the Nation of Islam, whether it be the Hebrew Israelites over here, whether, there's different pockets of us, but still, like you're saying, the vast majority of us um, are on these supportive systems run by bigger government entities that are just perpetuating the problem.
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to end on that. So sad. But I guess the hope, because I'm hope over here.
Hope.
The hope is, I really thank you for reminding me of the enlightenment of how we vote with our dollars. How we vote with our dollars. It's not just going into the beauty supply. It's what beauty supply. What? Like for instance, at Walmart, I told myself I was divorced from Walmart, but I was desperate and it was right there.
Damn,
And I
girl.
go there and I'm looking for something. And I'm gonna call y'all out too. I'm over here off Silver and 10. And I go to the black hair care section and I'm looking for a fishtail comb. They are locked up. They are locked. The combs, I was like,
Because they
I
think
got to call somebody.
y'all stealing them. And they might have data to support that. I have no idea, but they think y'all stealing them. They think this is a
I
house.
was like,
Lock it up. Lock it up.
not today. I can't support this. I gotta call you for a rat tail comb. No. So that was my way of saying, no, just don't get my money. It's ridiculous. Figure something else out.
That's correct.
So yeah, for reminding us that there's power in our dollar. And today more than any day, with Uber, with public transit, you don't have to go there.
That's correct.
You don't have, maybe back in the 80s, Lord, but you don't have to go there today. There's enough in the city, because Missouri City was very rural, okay?
It,
There was nothing but what?
it was a
Elkins,
suburb.
and that was it.
It was a suburb. It was a suburb. It was the suburb. We had the little Randalls. We had a few Eagles grocery store. We had girl. No, we had a whole bunch. We had a whole bunch. We had Randall's, Eagles, Gerlins. Randall's is Food Town.
And how far apart were those though, right?
No, they were like right down. What's not Murphy Road, not 1092. What is Cartwright? Is that Cartwright? Cartwright. Yeah, they
You
were
had
all.
never walked. See, I could
Well,
tell she had never walked those distances. Those were long walking.
right. I don't know about walking the distances, but from Quail Valley, it was right in the front of the neighborhoods.
Okay, you're right. On Highway 6.
No, not off of Highway. Highway 6 was undeveloped. Highway 6 was undeveloped. So because don't forget, when we started going to Elkins, it was cattle out there. I distinctively remember for morning runs for basketball, we would do this 3.5 mile run that went past all these I mean, like just cows as far as the eye could see. That
Whoa, I don't remember the cows.
but off of like 1092 and Cartwright
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
yeah, like that was
Oh
the
yeah, that Randall's. Yeah,
right,
okay.
right. And where Quail Valley, Meadow Creek,
Yeah.
all of that stuff was at, right? So there was grocery stores. I used to go get my little kolache in the morning, and I was excited, child.
I do, yeah. Highway 6 was, yeah.
Highway
That was,
6 was completely undeveloped. It was grassland.
that's true. Wow. What does 30 years make scary? Okay.
Years will change some things.
Years ago. Oh, okay. But that vote and that dollar. So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna consider this is what I'm consider. Because I do think about this dollar because my addiction is convenient.
Yeah, as is everybody's. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. And
That's
I'm in
how
the
they
cat.
get
I will outsource my whole life. Anybody who knows me knows. I so don't look at me as like the person who gonna help lead something, but I will outsource my whole life. Okay, whole life. For some convenience, I'd be
you.
like, my hourly rate is this. they charge that. Therefore, we're gonna go with them because it's saving me money because what my hourly rate normally is. So okay. Yeah, yeah. So I understand the notion of convenience. Now there are some things that I just can't ride with. And I get it that like we all everybody has their line in the sand, the things that they are just like immovable on. Walmart is one of the things for me. Under no circumstances will I ever in my life go inside of a wall. It's been like 25 years. Let's see, how long have I been married? 20, coming up on
I
20
did
years.
6 months boycott. I did that. I did a
I
six
will
months
never,
boycott.
I will never in my whole life of living. And 25 years ago, I stopped going to no Walmart. And when I married my husband, he was like, it's not that bad. He was like, no, they've changed. You don't, it's not that bad, whatever, whatever. I was like, okay, well, that's, hey, I'm here for evolution. So let's see what happens. And I went in there and I walked up to an associate who was stocking stuff on the shelf. And I was like, hey, I just have a quick question for you. Do you like working here? Thing. That dude froze like, I don't even know what it was like. It was surreal. Like he just froze. He didn't say anything to me. He didn't answer my question. He didn't
Probably
acknowledge.
thought it was a setup.
Probably thought it was a set. He was like, "This is Walmart dudes. I heard about they come off of these planes to see if we're gonna unionize." That's what they said. I mean, it was surreal. And at that moment, I was like, "You see, like no one should be afraid to answer whether they like their job or not, or whether there's improvement. Because no matter how great your job is, there's always room for improvement, like, period. So I mean, literally, I went up to him, I was like, hey, can I add it? And he was like, yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. And then when I asked that, he just shut down. He went like, boop, 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 boop.
They have trained him.
And I was like, this dude is terrified for his life. I was like, I'm not participating. I was like, I'm out. You catch me. I'm coming back in here again. I'm done. I'm done. Chick-fil-A is one of them. Like I used to eat a Chick-fil-A, then I
My
stopped.
God, I was boycotting.
It was about it
Also,
was a good
why
50
did you boycott?
I went back into a Chick-fil-A. And
Why
now
you
I'm done with Chick-fil-A again because I'm like, y'all deranged. So I'm
did they
done.
do some recently?
Yeah, they doing something all the time. So way back when I stopped because for some reason I had gotten the nutritional information from Chick-fil-A, and their chicken nuggets, their little chicken tenders, had like 86 ingredients in it. That's not hyperbole. It was some outrageously long list. I lost count. That's how many ingredients it was in the chicken. And I was like, y'all out here pitching this stuff like you for the families and bring your kiddos and all of this mess. And you are serving people straight trash. I was like, McDonald's and Burger King might be selling people straight trash, but they out here talking about we're for the family and we would like, okay, you give people Sunday off after you done killed everybody. Like, come on now, who cares? So I was like, I'm done. So, and I wrote him a letter. I was like, y'all doing this. You got 86 ingredients, tell you what, all the stuff. And then many, many years later, they said, okay, we are going to minimize the ingredients that are in our list. We're going to be hormone and antibiotic free. And I was like, now you're talking. We can open up a dialogue again, Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? We can open up a dialogue again. Um, and now recently, Chick-fil-A just sent out a whole notice talking about they chicken ain't gonna be antibiotic free no more, and all they like, yeah. And so that's why everybody is coming for them. Like all these all these other fast food restaurants are trolling them.
Really? I know their fries taste different. I know their fries
So they did
taste.
anything with the fries, but the chicken, which is the core of their business. I was like, so Chick-fil-A, I'm not um, I'm done. I don't care. I'm
They're
done.
like, look, we getting in, or we fitting in. So look, I'm gonna brainstorm and think how Black folks can become how can or I don't know how our businesses can prioritize convenience. Like, how can we be the winners of convenience? How can people come to us for something convenient because most people spend for convenience.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something real simple, and this is Natalie on her soapbox. Okay,
Okay.
simple. Soul food restaurants. Why? Why? Why do I have to bob and weave myself around a 2 hour long line for some smothered steak? Like, I'm like, I can't order on an app. Y'all ain't got Postmate. Like, what can we, like, can we,
Yeah, I don't know why we don't.
I'm like, it's real simple. Like, everybody else, everybody else has like online ordering and what I mean, just simple stuff. Like it's literally a burger place that I want to try, and they will remain nameless because I do not want to shame them on this show. There's a burger place that I want to try, and no, it's not the burger place that everybody probably thinking about. It's not Bun B, so it's not Trill Burger, but it's a different burger place. It's been around for forever. And when I was at my accountant's office, my husband and I were like, hey, we were thinking about a couple of these places because they're in and around the neighborhood. Do you think these are good places? Have you eaten at any of them? And he was like, yeah, but this particular burger place, just be prepared to wait an hour for your burger. And I was like, why? Why take an hour for my burger? I don't, it's a burger. Like that's all you make.
You hit on something about us. You hit on okay. I don't know what that is. Well, maybe I don't know if it's self-sabotage. I don't know if it's the capacity. The look, I'm telling myself projection. So sabotage. I don't know if it's the capacity to receive greatness. I don't know what that is, but we'll have a thing. We'll have a thing. But when it comes to getting that thing from hither to thither, our systems break down.
I don't understand. Like, and like Frenchies, it takes forever to get chicken from French. I'm like, y'all, all you do, everything else is already prepared. You ain't making nothing new. You not back there boiling the macaroni for the macaroni and cheese. You ain't out here baking the yams like I'm like, what? All you have to do is fry the chicken. And that should be on a regular rotate. Why does it take me 30 minutes to get through your line of 4 cars?
I don't know.
That's the stuff I'm talking about. There is absolutely no, I'll give you another example. I have businesses, and one of the business partnerships that I was in, we wanted to support a Black bank. So we went to a Black bank here in the Houston area, and we were like, hey, want to set up a bank account for a business. They gave us a stack of paper. This was just in 2018-ish, 2017, something like this. So when you're talking about like 2000 before the internet, we talking about 2017, 2018. They came to us with a stack of hard copy papers and told us we needed to fill out all these papers. And then we needed to come back with the papers signed, and they want us to notarize some mess and some. And I was, let me tell you about how J.P. Morgan Chase right over here and Capital One.
So our systems are outdated. Our systems are outdated.
Zero reason why that needed to exist. Zero. Zero. And this is at the point in time when I think Killer Mike had done something about he was talking about Black banks at the time too, and all this other stuff. And so there was like this onslaught of people who showed up at Black banks, even here in the Houston area, and were trying to open accounts in support of. But you can't be not prepared for the thing. Just like Black businesses, you got numbers on the door that say open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. You show up at noon, they got a sign telling my closed. Well, wait a minute. And I don't give a lot of extra tries. So when I show up and then I'm like, these your core business? You the one said you was up. I did not say you said you was gonna be open. And oh my God, Rebecca. Okay, let me tell you. So, I did this panel. I feel
bad for my. I'm like,
this was crazy. I did this panel and I really want to hear I really want to know what you think about this comment. So I did this panel. It was a woman's panel, black woman something, I don't remember. Anyway, and we were up there and we were talking about how to make your business ready, the things you can do, all that. And I was giving advice and I was like, I used an example where I'm like, hey, you got to be open when you say you're going to be open. You got to be staffed. You got to have the product that you say you're going to have. You got to have that product. You can't like be on back order for 27,000 months. Like it's not going to work. Like you got to, because people don't give people second chances. This dude stood up in the audience and I kid you not. And he was like, don't you think that as black people supporting black businesses that we should offer them more grace, that we should that was what my face did, we should give them more leeway. And I was like, no, you're in business. There's not a black business and a white business standard operating procedure. Like, you are a business. You need to function as a business, period. Or don't open your doors, or be like, we got a soft opening happen so people can expect. But you can't have a soft opening for 2 years now. Let me just be. You can't be soft opening for 2 years. Okay, you need to get your processes down. So I was like, no, absolutely not. Okay, now I'm gonna stop.
Okay, so this still goes back to the practicality of religion. And I want to say this because, right, religion is basically a culmination of our belief systems that we were taught, honestly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And either we say we serve. So one thing I can say, well, maybe not. I do know that when it comes to us, a lot of us are very ignorant in business, right? Myself include, like having to learn out of that. But a lot of us are ignorant in business. And by that, I mean this: the relationship between transactional versus communal. Like, this is how family, friends, mentorship, right? But this is business, this is a transaction. It took me a long time to understand and learn what that meant. And a lot of times, I'm gonna tell on us black women, I feel like we speak black church, right? And we have these expectations in church that we think is supposed to carry over to business.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it's a cultural thing, because we expect sit down religion pew talk when I'm actually trying to sell you something, like especially if it's like you want it for free, but I'm like, but I'm running a business, or you want a discount, but I'm running a business. Well, my heart, but this is a business, it's not church. So I think we get confused.
Your heart though. The light bill don't know your heart. They
That's a
don't.
t-shirt.
The
Like,
lion do not know your heart. Okay, let's be clear.
sometimes we really get confused about those relationships and those expectations. I honestly do. Okay, my sister said something and then I realized something. So Oregon is pouring out a lot of money right now in education. And what I figure out what they were doing a lot, they need special ed. Okay, so let me back up. They need special ed teachers nationally, internationally, but especially nationally. So as a special ed teacher, I get text all the time saying, we'll pay travel pay, just come to our city, whatever. So what I realized when I got to the crux of what was going on is, with the downfall of affirmative action, that a lot of that money was going, is it DEI? I don't know, it was going into a different category.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it was a big, so these majority white places had the structure to accept these government contracts or funding, whatever it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So because they had the ability and the structure to facilitate this, they needed the black people to do the work with black people that was right, have the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue, of course, is, since they don't know what they're doing, they don't have the supports under that. But nevertheless, I was like, why aren't we taking care of our own people this way? Because we don't have the structure to handle these contracts
Mm-hmm.
in order to run this thing efficiently. because usually, well, I'll say usually, but a lot of times when we're working together, or it turns into some weird church dynamic. I said, use like our dynamics are a little different. Working with each other, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can speak to that, but I think we just relate very differently between church, because a lot of us are programmed from church, especially around our age, Gen X, and business, and it gets murky. I don't know. What do you think?
I call that familial, like,
Okay.
and familial and familiar. Like I've had I've had um people, other African Americans who have like paid for coaching services and things like that. I show up um ready to coach. That's what you're paying me for. And they show up very homegirl. And I'm like, that's not what I'm not, if you need a friend, I mean, one hashtag no new friends, but if you needed a friend, then that's a whole different conversation. That's not a, let me pay for your business. I'm going to show up professionally because that's what I'm supposed to do. We have objectives we need to meet because that's what you pay me for. And we got stuff we need to do. So there's this whole like, and I'll never forget the day. And again, they probably gonna throw tomatoes at the screen, but I'll never forget the day after Obama won. And I've been on the record plenty of times. I did not vote for the man. Okay. So when I got to my client's office and I got on the elevator, everybody was smiling at me like they knew that we had all somehow voted the same way. Like they were real, yeah, like, and I was like,
I voted for Obama, and I would be like, "That's right, girl. I probably been right."
she was
I'd be
probably,
like, I
I
know,
know,
right?"
girl, I
She'd be
see you,
like,
we together. And it's that you black, I'm black, we black, so
"Yeah."
let's be black. And I like we not, again, back to the, we not a monolith. Like we are not a monolith. And you don't know me. You don't like you do not know me. It was a dude with a kiosk in the um in the Galleria Mall. And my husband was looking for this specific type of shoe shine thing for his sneakers. And this dude was Middle Eastern.
Hmm.
And when my husband walked up to the kiosk, the dude was like, yeah, bro, and whatever, whatever. And he was like dropping all this slang. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, you, you don't, you don't know me. Like, you don't know me. So don't approach. Well, yeah, but whatever, whatever. I was like, nah. I was like, no. I was like, so you can gather yourself and talk to me in a regular way and my husband in a regular way, or you can miss this sale. 1, 2, right? Um, and that's the big tent, right? Like we are familial. We let other people be familial with us in our culture. We just we just
Which I guess I see how that it doesn't translate into our empowerment. It doesn't translate into dollars. It doesn't translate into autonomy.
it does
And
not.
I think that right there is really golden wisdom, because at the end of the day, I believe most of us want to be autonomous, right? We want to have some measure of control in our lives. And that sounds like a practical thing, something I'm like, oh, okay, what areas am I too familiar? What areas am I allowing other people, right, to not take my business
Serious.
seriously? Am I not taking my business seriously?
Correct.
Right? Do I think, right? And this kind of goes back to, I'm gonna take a generation back. Well, I remember getting real pissed off watching my dad, for survival reasons, supposedly, drop into the familial, right, when it came to authority, and not seeing him just, assert himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I wonder if that's some old slave residue
Could
of
be.
survival.
Could be.
Where we try to make everybody comfortable, everybody easy, but we don't have to do that anymore.
Right. Well, and you need to figure out what is the thing that makes them feel comfortable first. Assuming that talking to me in a certain way or showing up in a certain way is somehow going to make me feel comfortable. It's just like people who use the N word regularly. You don't ever, ever. No, yeah, no, that's it's not happening, right? If you want to do that amongst yourselves, have at it. But don't drag me into that because I don't want no parts, right? But there are people who just say it. And as a part of the hip hop culture, nowadays, this way younger generation, these 16
Oh
year
my
olds and 14
God.
year olds, all this mess, they got everybody of every color spectrum calling them that word and they call it back. And you just like, no, that's not part of the 10.
Mm.
um, so yeah,
Look, I'm gonna write these down because I think these are things that I want to bring up every week. Boundaries, accountability.
accountability,
Um, that's two major things, and defining the relationship.
yep, responsibilities, all of that. I mean, like, and don't get me wrong, I get what you're saying about, you know, as African Americans, we may not have had the opportunities to know about business, like to learn about it, in the same way. But I will say this for the longest, for the longest, I have wanted a juice business. I just have. I think I just want
Juice business.
a smoothie business. Like I just want to open a cute little storefront and we make little juices and smoothies for veggies and fruits, and it's great. Um, I have. I have not opened it, and the reason being is because I don't know nothing about juices and smoothies. Right. So other than consuming them out of whatever little right, I have not explored recipes on my own of how to juice and whatever. I have not worked in anybody. I ain't gone to Jamba Juice. Like I ain't did none of that. They ain't never been a client. I ain't never seen no inside. So why would I just step out there and open a business that I have absolutely no idea? It's why a lot of restaurants close because people are like, oh, I can cook well. I'm going to go open this restaurant. It's a lot more to cooking than cooking that makes a restaurant run and work. There's a whole front of the house operation that happens and a back behind the house operation that's outside of that mid section, which is the kitchen. So you might cook well and that's great, but why don't you go work in a restaurant first?
Mm-hmm.
See how other chefs set up their kitchen so their line flows right. See how the front of the house is run with reservations or not reservations or seating or customer service or menu selection or whatever. See how back of the house with like vendors and suppliers and how to negotiate prices or like do that.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that's what we're missing? We're missing the preparation, the mentorship
We
that'll
just
get
want
us
to
to
go
the.
do something. Not even mentorship. Just go work. And you ain't even got to tell them that I'm working here because I'm about to go open my own thing. Just go work and see how the thing functions first. Before you decide you want to have a nail shop and you ain't never painted a nail, you don't know about salon menus, you don't know, like, go work in a spa, be a receptionist, be a, like whatever it is to just soak up information while getting a paycheck to soak up the information.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
I
I mean, that makes sense to me.
And you ain't got to stay there long. Just take a year, 12 months, while you hone your craft, work on your little concoctions, hone your craft, work on your little concoctions.
You saying you gonna work at Jamba Juice? Is that what you're announcing right
I
now?
am not. I'm just probably not ever gonna own a juice.
She's like,
I'm just gonna continue to consume my juices from the juice places.
This juicing. That was so fascinating. I did not expect you to
Oh
say.
my God, I do. This, yeah, I do. I just wanted the cute little, and it could have coffee too, like a coffee juice bar. It's gonna be so great. Yeah. I also have 20,000 other businesses and don't need to add another one to the
I love it. I love it. Man, okay. Well, I like how we have interwove our tent with the business concepts, with
yeah.
the religious concepts, with
Politics.
the relationship concept, politics, and what we've allowed to be in our tent, what works and what doesn't work. And what doesn't work is being too familiar
Yep.
in the business space
Yep.
and the lack of boundaries that that breeds.
Yep.
So, and it wouldn't be a problem. It's just that it's showing up in our lack of autonomy and financial freedom.
Agreed. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that is the big takeaway. We can have all types of opinions, but we're looking at data, we're looking at facts, and we're looking at where we want to go.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Data facts and where we want to go. I love it.
Is that a t-shirt? Is that a
That's a t-shirt, child. That's a t-shirt with a tent. Let's have it.
mug? Data, facts, and where we want to go.
Yes.
Woo! Oh, where we want to
Data,
go
facts, and
goes
direction.
data, facts, and direction. Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay. That's a streamline and that's a
DFD.
you said what?
DFD. It's a low
Yeah,
acronym.
data, facts, and direction. Oh, DFD.
Hmm.
In the TBBT. Is that a rap? See, that's our problem. We always want to be entertained. I'm like TBT,
You pop locking
TBT,
over there. You already
TBT.
pop locking. See, you already pop locking. Okay. That's hilarious.
Do that for 20 years. Like, okay, what were we doing?
What were we doing? What was that supposed to be? I remember one of them was like direction. What was the other thing? They got like translation and all sorts of stuff.
Well, remember the rap. That's the start. That's the
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
is so how we're made. Oh my gosh, it's scary.
I remember a bunch of raps though. That's what's crazy about it all. I do remember. Yeah, you remember rap lyrics.
Well, any last words?
No, this has been very enlightening. And I
Thank
loved our discussion. And I hope everybody else loved our discussion too. And if you didn't love it, at least you respect it. Let's hope that.
you. Respect. All right. Until next time. Bye from the big black tent.
Bye.